Good evening. I'm Mark Brudzinski, and I really want to welcome you to Change Your Mind, Change Your Life, Progress Through the Pandemic. I do a meetup really every month, and because of what we're going through right now, usually it's in front of a large group of people, but we're doing it virtually. We did it last month. Doing it again this month because I want to stay in touch with everybody and make it Facebook Live so that anyone who wants to can participate, because it's my goal to share positivity. But before I get going, I want to just read something to you. I found a book, Thomas Dismuke's. It's called A Leader's Focus. And you know, we all get to make choices in life, and you've made the choice to be with me. I know Marie logged on early, Jody logged on early, Stephanie, I want to say hi to them too. And actually, real quick, offer my condolences to one of our meetup members, Pablo, who lost his mom this past weekend. We're all thinking about you, Pablo, and you're in our prayers. But I wanted to read this because you do get to make choices in life, and we're defined by the choices that we make. So we live and die by the choices that we make. In this wonderful ride of life, we better know what we are holding on to and what is holding on to us. Having the proper priorities in life help determine what things to keep and what things to let go. When life brings a little snag, sometimes the people you thought were your friends are nowhere to be found. In the end, we are each held accountable for what we have made or not made of our lives. There will be a point in our lives and in death when we will have to stand up and fight the battle completely alone. There will only be you, God, and the decisions you have made. So we all are individuals in this journey through life, but we're all together, right? It's one world, and we've never really had it more in our face than it is right now. We're all in this together, and yet it's a journey that most of us have never experienced before. I guess really any of us have been through a pandemic in our lifetime. I know I saw a news clip actually the other day. There was a woman who lived through the Black Death and has now survived through this pandemic too. So what an incredible journey for her. But I want to give a quick shout out to those who are on the front lines. And this is so important because it's our essential workers who are putting themselves out there, sacrificing possibly their own lives to take care of those who are sick and many times dying. Can't say enough. We thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. I know everything that I watch, everything I listen to, people say that. I watched a concert the other night where the musicians came together and played music, and it was all about raising money and giving thanks. And you know what? In times of anxiety and strife and what we're going through now, it's the people that make the biggest sacrifices that are true heroes. So we want to thank you for that. And so I want to get into this meetup, and for those of you who have never been here before, Change Your Mind, Change Your Life started in February of 2018. We have 500 plus members. And I do it really for one reason. It's to share positivity. But the motto, the real message of this meetup, obviously, is change. And Jim Rohn had a couple of lines, a business philosopher who passed a couple of years ago. But these lines I read about 9 years ago changed my entire life. So if you want things to change, you have to change. If you want things to get better, you have to get better. If you want to have more, you must become more. It's working harder on yourself than you do on your job to have the things that you really want that will change your life. Those are the things that make you rich, because you're rich inside and outside. And this whole meetup, the entire core principle of this is that you have to work from the inside out. If you try to control the things outside of you, it'll never work. You will struggle, you'll be anxious, and you'll just be stressed your entire life. But if you can actually grasp a hold of what's inside of you, those gifts and talents, the ability to make changes that will ultimately change the world, because the world needs people that have come alive. And if you can come alive, the world's going to be a better place. So let's get into my mission. I am now positively impacting the lives of 1 billion people. Everyone should have a why, should have a mission in life. I've been riding this mission for more than a couple of years now. My hashtag is 1 billion. And really during this time, during this pandemic, when we have time to reflect on what we're about, to spend time with the people that we love, hopefully, it's a time to really think about yourself, because what are you going to do on the other side of this global challenge? Who are you going to be? Now's the time to figure it out. And if you don't have a mission statement, I encourage you to write one down and put it everywhere. I mean, live it. My 1 billion is on my clothing. I keep it on my mirror. It's on my vision board in my bedroom. I mean, everywhere I go, it's about hope, helping other people every day and providing hope so that people can enjoy incredible lives, because we all have that opportunity. We are all miracles, masterpieces, and heroes, and we can change the world just by being ourselves. And so many people are being themselves right now it's incredible to see. I think that's one thing, one positive silver lining you can take out of this pandemic is that people are being themselves. You almost have to be. So who am I? Talking about being yourself. I'm Mark Bradinsky, and I'm an Emmy Award-winning TV producer. I worked in television for 15 years in the news business in Baltimore. I'm a best-selling author, blogger. I love to write. I love to speak. I love to inspire. That's really part of my gifts and talents that I bring to the world. I'm also a satellite division sales leader for an incredible company called U.S. Health Advisors. I recruit, train, motivate, and write policies for people that need health coverage. And gosh, we are so busy right now because right now everyone's focused on that. No one should be walking around without health coverage. And if you don't have a job or an opportunity in front of you, we should have a conversation because we have a place for you. We're doing incredible things. There's been a need for what we've been doing. I've been doing this 20 years. There's never not been a need for this. I'm not here to do a commercial, but this is part of who I am. And our company's mission is hope, helping other people every day. I live that. I've lived it for 20 years now, and I live it. I try to live it in my mission statement of positively impacting the lives of 1 billion people. So we're going to talk about a couple of things here, a couple of principles. Then we're going to have a special guest, Diane Beliveau from the Dale Carnegie Training. And it's going to be incredible because really the principles of relationships are something that drive our lives forward, and we need to focus on those. And she's going to talk about that. But first I want to go through some things I talk about in the meetup because people that maybe haven't seen it before or want to participate in this, I always give a life back guarantee that if a few things I talk about here don't change your life, that's okay. You can have your old life back. You're no worse off than when you came onto this Facebook Live presentation a few minutes ago. You'll be no worse off. You'll still go sit in your house and social distance from everyone and just try to stay healthy, wash your hands and sanitize and everything else. But maybe a few of the things you hear tonight might impact you, might lead you to take action, might change your life. You never know. It's one idea, just one thing that could change everything about you. So let's get into it. So why do this at all? I'm calling it progress through the pandemic. Because like the screen says, if we take care of ourselves, we can take care of each other. It's not selfish, it's selfless. You can't give what you don't have. You look at the healthcare workers who are really, just giving everything that they have, everything inside of them. They're reaching back for something extra because then they have it to give. In our daily lives, if we actually do that, we can take much better care of other people if we're taking care of ourselves. And it comes down to a couple of different principles. It's a time to focus on a couple of different things, but it's also a time to look at the silver lining. We're all in this together. We are all one world. We're all holding hands. We're all going through the same exact thing at the same exact time. For me, and I'm sure many people living through this, that's an incredible experience. Even though in many cases it's sad, it's tough, it brings stress and anxiety. The fact that we're all experiencing one thing at one time, if you see a natural disaster, right? You see a tornado on TV or there's a hurricane that rolls through or an earthquake, you feel bad for those people and what they're experiencing, but you're like, I'm outside of that. That's not the case now. We are all inside. We're all in this together. We're all going through the same exact thing at the same exact time in history. And wow, is history going to look back on this and say, this is one of the most amazing experiences many of us will ever have in our lives. It is a reset, and it's sad that during a reset time, people have to suffer and we lose people. But you got to look at the other side of this, and we have to get through it. We will get through it, and we're going to be better as individuals on the other side of this if you focus on you. So let's talk about a couple principles. One of the core concepts I talk about in my Change Your Mind, Change Your Life meetup is health, because it is the foundation of everything, and it's never been more apparent than now. You have a virus that's captured, really taken the whole world hostage. The fact that it could travel like it has in 182 countries out of 190, health is the entire focus of everything that we're talking about now. It's why we're sitting at home. It's why we're social distancing. It's why we're washing our hands. It's why we can't hold our loved ones, because it's all about health. Without good health, life is tough. The person that has good health has 1,000 wishes. The person that doesn't have good health has only one. That's to get better. So it's a big focus right now. And I put up here a daily dedication. So there are a couple things I want to focus on, and I think you should focus on. I talk about in my meetup, but right now, it's never been more important of your relationship with some higher power. For me, it's God. And in the book, actually, Thomas Dispukes talks about putting first things first. And first things first is our relationship with that higher power, with God, because God's always going to be there for you. And even in times of happiness and in strife, if you have some faith, something to hold on to, life will get better. Exercise, staying in motion. It's tough right now, right? Although I actually have heard that more people are exercising than ever before virtually. They don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have the excuse of, oh, I don't want to go outside. It's cold. It's dark. I'm not going to get in the car. I'm too rushed. I got to get to work. Well, guess what? You roll out of bed and you can do it. I did it this morning. And in all transparency, I've been working out with my trainer, Marie, virtually a couple days a week. And today we did a new set of exercises. I pulled my back out to the point that normally I would do this meet up standing. There's no way I can right now because I can barely sit. But it's okay. And when it happened, when things happen to you, it's that whole example of health. It happened. The first thing I think about is, what am I going to do about the rest of my day? I can barely walk. And then I thought about other people. And we're going to talk about a lot about that when we talk to Diane. Thinking about other people. What are they going through? My issue pales in comparison to what the world is dealing with right now. So if I can't take some back pain, come on. I can do a lot better than that. So also to the food we eat. Someone brought up a good point. In fact, Zephan Blacksburg, who's recording this, he's live streaming this for me. He runs ZMB Media. We had a conversation the other day, and it actually brought to light something I never even thought about. When this thing started up, people rushed to the stores. Toilet paper, paper towels, sanitizer. Nobody was hoarding vegetables and fruit. All right? Those bins are still full. And if you go to the store now, right, they're still plentiful. You got to think about the foods you're eating during this time. You can't just snack all day long. You can't sit on your couch all day long. You're going to come out on the other side of this and be worse off than you were when we started it. And that's the last thing you want to do. When you hear the president talk about the cure can't be worse than the problem, you don't want to make this, during this downtime that we have, things should be getting better for you. I mean, if you're obviously sick, if you've lost someone, my condolences, and I can't imagine what that's like. But on the other side of it, if that you haven't experienced that, you just don't want to take a break and say, for the next 2 months, I'm just going to sit there and do nothing because the world's going to end. The world is not going to end. It's never going to end. You need to begin from the inside and make things better. So to fresh air, getting outside, making sure that you're out there in nature. It's the best thing you can do to free your mind, to ease your mind, and to think better thoughts is to go outside and breathe some oxygen. I caught myself working too much last week. I was actually inside for almost 2 days and realized when I opened the door to my place, I hadn't been outside and breathed fresh air. And it really hit me that if I don't take time to do that, it's not going to happen. You have to make the time. You have to control your time and track your time, which I'll talk about in a second. But also to reflection and thought. Now's the time to reflect on the many blessings of your life, the things that you have to be grateful for, and the things you can do moving forward, as well as to hope for others and the other side. We always want to provide hope to other people. Again, that's my mission. How can you provide hope to someone else? It can be as simple as picking up the phone and making a call, getting on a Zoom conference, sending a card, and then hope for the other side, which is, let's have hope. We are going to get through this. We are going to get to the other side. And I agree with a lot of people. It's going to be bigger and better than it ever was before. You just have to go through the journey. When you're going through a tragedy, when something bad is happening, no one tells you that there's a lesson in this. You just think, how am I going to get through this? But on the other side of that, there's always blessings in the lessons. So, a tracker. So one way to take control of you, I have a tracker that I will put up on this Facebook page after we're done here, a picture of this. You can actually track your activities, everything from health to exercise to reading to gratitude, something else I'm going to talk about in a second. But tracking your activities and giving you something which is actually a distraction from everything else that's going on, but focus for progress. If what you focus on expands. If you focus on saying, hey, I'm going to eat better this week. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to focus on gratitude and have a gratitude practice. I'm going to read more. I'm not just going to binge watch Netflix. Tracking those activities, and I'm happy to put it up on the Facebook page and email out a PDF to anyone who wants to have one of those. Also, talk about this in the meetup all the time. I always say the one concept, if you take away from the principles of change that I talk about, it's gratitude. And there is a newfound gratitude for all the blessings in our life. Because when it all gets taken away from you, or seems like it has, you look deep inside yourself and the people and the things that you're appreciative of and say, wow, I am so blessed. We are. Amidst all the things that are going on, we're all blessed. And there's a newfound focus. And it's so important because gratitude is the attitude that changes everything. A focus on gratitude will bring more blessings into your life. So you want to have a better life on the other side of this? Start a gratitude practice. Write down a couple things every day that you're grateful for, or an evening before you go to bed, even better, without watching the news. Because to be grateful is going to bring magic into your life. There's a great book called The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, a 28-day program of gratitude. I actually have someone in my office, Dan DeKisto, just read that book, and he talked about, he's told us about many things that have happened during the month that he was doing the gratitude practice. I've been through that book twice. Miracles happen when you're focusing on gratitude, because the more you focus on it, it's abundance. And if you want to have more abundance, you have to think more abundance. If you think negative and scarcity, that will draw more into your life. You're going to attract what it is you think about all day long. And your thoughts, when you change the way you think, the things you think about change. Your thoughts are the most important part of your being. Also, meditation versus binge watching. So you're going to take quiet time. It's so important right now when things are swirling around to go deep inside, to take a few minutes to close your eyes, just relax, try to think about nothing. If you can't do that, and sometimes I have trouble, I'll bring up Spotify or YouTube and just search meditation music and put it on in the background. Closing your eyes for 5 or 10 minutes a day will change everything. You'll have thoughts you never had before. You might have great ideas pop in that you never thought you could have had because you're so busy trying to live life and get on that treadmill that you just don't take the time to think deeper. Now's the time to get quiet, and you have the time. We all have the time. You can't say that if all you're doing is staying at home, there's not traffic, right, as an excuse. There's not running to and from the office as an excuse. There's not all these activities you have with the kids at school as an excuse. There's not the attraction of or temptation of going out to the bars and the restaurants. How could you not have time? It's so important. So rather than just sit there on your sofa for 12 hours watching Netflix or whatever show you're going to do, why not take at least a few minutes to get quiet? Also, TV news. We're all watching the news. And you know what? In some respects, you have to, because you have to stay informed, right? You need to know what's going on to be safe. The one, I don't watch the news, and if you news, you lose. If that's all you watch all day long, the news networks are more than happy to accommodate you 24/7. And when you're stuck inside and you got the TV on, even in the background, it's going into your brain. Subconsciously, you are ingesting all this information. And depending what network you watch, right, there's a different perspective and view on all of it. You can't do that to yourself. You're going to take yourself down. You're never going to get out of this. You'll never have a better life. It's not going to be anything better than what you're doing right now. News has one focus. And is it important for information right now? Yes. But it can also be overkill. It still has one function, which is to sell advertising. That's it. They want to keep you coming back and make it as attractive as they can before every commercial break, for every special guest they bring on, that, hey, just stick around. There's going to be new information. It's not new information. It's the same information recycled. The only thing I actually take time to watch are the coronavirus task force briefings, because then I'm getting new information. And guess what? It's really the best theater going. I never know what's going to happen during that time. Like or hate the president, the information, the questions that come there, it's live, right? It's happening. But at least I'm gaining information and knowing about what's going on in the country, and then maybe watching a news conference like here in Maryland with the governor, so I know what's happening. But after that, I don't need to listen to it and watch it all day and all night. I'm killing myself, and so are you. So stop it. Actually, that picture of that TV that I had there for a second, I wish the TVs were like that now. Instead of 200 stations, you had like 3, right? So and the color bars went up at 1 o'clock in the morning. You couldn't even watch TV all day long. But reading, the next thing. You read, you lead. And like this quote says, whenever you read a good book, somewhere in the world a door opens to allow in more light. If you're feeling darkness right now, pick up a book. Pick up a book or download it. Do something to take your mind off of what's going on right now. Again, I was sent this book, A Leader's Focus, a couple of weeks ago. Great book. And we're going to be talking about another just unbelievable book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's why I'm going to have my special guest here in just a couple of minutes. A book will change your life, and you become the books you read. You want to move through this with power, perseverance, persistence, and really have something to crow about on the other side of this? Read. Be distracted, but also read for growth. You want to become a better person because we don't want to experience this again, and if we did, you're going to have to be a stronger person to get through it. Hopefully we don't, but strength comes with things like reading, meditation, gratitude. These are practices that you can't get away from, and if you track your progress toward it and say, hey, I actually did it, because I have a tracker that I could hold, that I could take a look at and say, hey, I had a goal of reading 5 days this week and I read 3 times. Good, you made progress. It's progress through the pandemic. Progress is good. All right, our relationships. So I have a friend, Pete Kolash. He's got this great quote. Our relationships are the single greatest predictor of our happiness and performance. Pete's a great friend of mine. He's a mastermind brother with me, and I just love this quote. We're going to be talking a lot about this in just a minute or so with Diane, because relationships are, I believe, as important as health. They really are, and you'll see why in just a minute. I have a thing I talk about on my meetup about the power of relationships, the fact you have to stand guard to those relationships, because I break mine down into 3 parts. A 3-minute friend, a 3-week friend, a 3-hour friend, or a 3-week friend. So the 3-minute friend's the person you don't want to spend too much time talking to, especially right now when you have more time and someone could take up all your time on a phone call or a Zoom conference talking about all the negative stuff that's going on that's all out of their control and nothing they can do about. Woe is me. Don't spend a lot of time there. Don't spend 3 weeks with a 3-minute friend. 3-hour friend might be someone you want to chat with for a little while. I know we can't do coffee or lunch right now, but when things get better, my 3-hour friend is the person that I go out with once a month, spend a couple hours with, and say, hey, great, I'll see you next month. The 3-week friend, the people that you should be developing relationships, nurturing, and spending time with now. Not when we're through this, now. Because that 3-week friend is trying to get better. The 3-week friend is trying to grow. And hopefully so are you. Because you are the product of the 4 or 5 people you spend the most time with. And where they're going, you're going. So you got to find people that are looking to do bigger things, that are looking for positivity, looking at the silver lining in all this, or doing things that are different, not the same as everyone else. You got to stay safe, yeah, but the mind is a powerful thing, and the thoughts you think and the activities you do around that, those are the people you want to spend the time with. Because again, where they're going, you're going. It's so important. So let's talk about relationships and the Bible, which I'm calling How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I actually downloaded this on Audible about 2 months ago. I've now been through it 2 times, and I can't tell you how it's impacted my life in the power of relationships and also about putting other people first. So this quote, the deepest urge in human nature is the desire to be important. Dale talks about this from Dr. John Dewey. When I heard that line, I thought to myself, you know what, that is what it's all about. And it's human nature to not do that, to not make other people important. But here's another great quote. You can make more friends in 2 months being interested in other people than in 2 years trying to get them interested in you. The power of other people in your life, the power of developing great relationships, the power of making other people feel important. Again, in all transparency, I haven't always done that either. And I've learned very tough lessons not doing that. But it is my focus on my mission to positively impact the lives of 1 billion people that's what I'm doing now. And Dale Carnegie has helped open my eyes to so much of that. So we're going to be talking about that now when we bring out our guest. So Diane Bellevue from the Dale Carnegie School. Diane joined Dale Carnegie training in 2002. She's certified to teach the world-renowned Dale Carnegie course, high-impact presentations, leadership training for managers, winning with relationship selling, as well as live online workshops and seminars. She brings an energetic and enthusiastic spirit into her training to connect with her audience and make learning engaging and enjoyable. I can't wait to bring Diane on here because it's really a powerful thing that she's going to talk about here, the power of relationships. And I'm going to get myself out of the way here so we can hear from Diane. And Diane, I'm proud to talk about too that there was that picture you had up that you actually earned your master's degree in systematic theology at Notre Dame Graduate School.
Yes.
That's awesome. Hold on, we're gonna bring up here on the screen in 1 second.
Okay.
All right, Diane Bellevue. Diane, I'm thrilled to have you here. We had talked a couple of months ago. I was going to have you the special guest live at my last meetup about 2 months when it would have been live, but then the whole pandemic happened and we thought, it's not the best time to obviously all sit together. So it's really cool. I told you, we've had a conversation. I'll talk about my experience with the book and Dale Carnegie in a second, but just so great that you take the time to do this. Really appreciate you being here with us. And
absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I wanted to start with a question, though. I mean, why are Dale Carnegie's principles so important during this time that we're going through?
It's funny. Clearly, the pandemic gives us a good reason to shine a light on Dale Carnegie's principles, and they're important actually in any time. Dale Carnegie would say, in fact, his book How to Win Friends and Influence People was actually published back in 1936. And a lot of people would say, wow, it's a long time ago. And they're right. But the beautiful thing about the book is the principles are probably even more appropriate today than what they were even when he wrote the book because of the age of technology. In fact, that book is in the Library of Congress as one of the top 100 most influential books in the world. And so How to Win Friends and Influence People is appropriate anytime, but those principles are really important now when stress is high, as well as his book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living.
It's the truth, because we all get caught up in technology, we all get caught up in distractions, and the crazy thing is the principles never change. If you read Think and Grow Rich, if you read How to Win Friends and Influence People, if you read The Science of Getting Rich, which was written in 1910, Wallace Wattles, those principles are exactly the same. The principles that move the world that were from the time we were all created are basic principles of relationships in life, and they are always important. They never go out of style, ever.
That's right. That's right.
So how do you think right now they can help somebody moving through this pandemic? How can Dale's principles help somebody?
One of my favorites is the first principle in Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's the number one principle. It's also the only negative principle in all 30 principles. And it is don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Mm-hmm. And of all the principles, I would have to say that one was an area that I had to focus first when I joined Dale Carnegie many years ago. And it's aligned with what you said, Mark, about count your blessings and not your woes. And it really takes a conscious effort to not criticize, condemn, and complain. And especially in this time right now of the pandemic, it's so easy to do because we feel so isolated, in some cases, and very trapped. And so how do we not criticize, condemn, and complain? And one way is cooperating with the inevitable and not trying to look too far down the road, trying to think about what's going to happen, but we're given today and to do the best we can today.
Truth. And obviously Diane and I are not actually together, except we're doing what everyone is doing right now, which is going on Zoom to talk. I'm live and she's on the Zoom slide because we have to stay safe. But we can still have human connection this way. And the criticism thing in that book, wow, she's right. I mean, when you hear, and I've been listening to the book, so I have someone reading it to me on Audible. But as it's read to me and you hear about how easy it is to criticize people. People are so critical of other people. And also Henry Ford, Dale talks about in the book, Henry Ford gives the basic principle. You should be open to hearing what other people have to say, taking it into account, even if you don't agree with it, and say, hey, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, Dale Carnegie was huge on listening and try honestly to see things from the other person's perspective. In fact, he was asked when he was on a radio talk show, and the DJ asked him, he said, Mr. Carnegie, of all the principles, that you have written, which one do you believe is the most difficult to implement? And he said that would be, and he stopped and he thought about it for a moment, and he said, well, that would be principle number 17, which is try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. And we've all heard that, walk a mile in another person's shoes. Well, it's so true, because that's where the criticize, condemning, and complaining comes in, is we don't see things from the other person's point of view, and it becomes that revolving cycle. So when we can stop and think and pause before we react, we might hold our tongue and just try honestly to listen and respond in a way that somebody else would appreciate the response, instead of trying to be negative or taking a turn for the negative.
That's the truth. I talk about in my meetup, one of the 12 principles of change we have, number 8 is opinions, and the fact that opinions are based on education and experience. And how dare you judge someone on something that you didn't live through and they didn't live through. We're all brought up differently. We all have different lives. We are all born different. We should be proud of that and accept that, and don't think that someone else who's not like you shouldn't have respect. And so the fact that we all want to kill each other over different opinions is the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. And I mean, since I've been learning it and really immersing myself in it, it makes me sad, because everyone should be able to give their point of view without anyone saying, you know what, I hate that, right? I don't like you because of that. I talk about in the meetup how, an opinion from someone you met one time, if we all have a movie of our life, and that movie is, let's say, 80 years, and you meet someone in one moment, at one time, and they express one opinion, you're taking a still picture of that movie and judging them on that picture. And how dare you judge the movie of someone's life on one still photo? It's not fair. It's not.
No, it isn't. And we tend to do it just because that's the way we think. We're creatures of habit. And Dale Carnegie would say this, that, we do things over and over again. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, but getting the same. And one of his principles, the number one principle in how to stop worrying and start living, is live in day-type compartments. In other words, today is a gift. Dale Carnegie was a Christian man, and his principles come from the Bible. And he said, we're given this day as a gift, yes, let's use it that way. And what's so important about that is, for example, at this time of quarantine, and instead of waiting for the phone to ring or watching Netflix, who could use a phone call? Who could just use a voice to smile over the phone, or just to say hello? And again, it's getting our minds off of ourselves and onto other people, and taking the time, and that will fill our mind with peace and with joy, because we're giving instead of wanting to take. So it's another way to live in day-type compartments, not worry about tomorrow, but really focus on today and how we can make somebody else today.
Right? What's the basic human desire, right? To feel important.
Yeah.
To feel important. So,
Yeah.
what practices do you think right now someone should implement, so when they're on the other side of this pandemic, they'll actually, thrive, and not just say, hey, I survived it, but I actually got through this, and I'm a better person on the other side of it?
I love principle number 10 for Dale Carnegie is count your blessings, not your troubles. And not to be redundant, but that's one of the most powerful techniques that we can do, because it truly does refocus our mind and our heart in the right place. Things are going to happen. Things are going to fall on the floor. None of us should be shocked when bad things happen. It's the way of life. That's why we're problem solvers. But the fact is, if we can go through this 2 ways, and one could be part of the problem, or 2, making a choice to say, you know what, I'm going to figure out a way to make lemonade out of the lemons we've been given. And I think when we can do that, we make our life better for ourselves, but we also become a ripple effect for other people's lives to help them maybe change their perspective. And in that way, we contribute in a very big way to other people's happiness as well. And that, to me, will then take the anxiety and the air pressure out of the stress valve, so that we're being more focused, more productive, and more enthusiastic in what we do and how we do it.
Yep, it's gratitude. That's what you talked about, right?
Yeah.
It's gratitude, and then
It really is.
I've heard if you touch one person's heart, you'll touch 1,000, because that ripple effect, like you talked about. So let's talk about real quick how you've implemented some of the principles in your own life. I'm going to talk about mine, and I know you have some other education to give us.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Back during 9/11, I'll just talk about another crisis which was pretty significant to me. I had quit a job. My company had been sold twice, and management changed 2 times. And I was on the airplane to go down to the Keys to visit my parents, and I was flying back, and I made a decision to resign without having a job, which I did do. However, 2 weeks later, 911 happened, and I was already on my way to becoming a Dale Carnegie trainer avocationally. And it was interesting. I was sitting in my bed one day thinking, okay, Lord, I have to start working again. And what was really interesting is I was offered a job by Dale Carnegie by the grace of God, and I took a 75% pay cut, and I never looked back. And I am here with Dale Carnegie today. One of the principles that was so important to me is Dale Carnegie's #1 stress principle. His perfect way to manage stress was to pray. And at the end of the day, when we have to take leaps of faith, even during pandemics, during crisis situations, that's your strongest rock. And that's what I leaned on. And then all these other principles really help to augment what I do and how I choose to live.
It's fantastic. Yeah, and I've, since I listened to the book and read the book, so when all this went down, I thought, I need to reach out to my clients in the health insurance business that I do. And I didn't want to just write a note and say, hey, I hope you're doing great. If you need me for any reason, call me. I mean, that's fine. But so what I did was, after listening to the book, I came up with a message, and I would write to them, and it always said the same thing. I hope this finds you safe and well. Please take the time that we've been given to reflect on the many blessings in your life and the many treasures within you. Because I heard Dale tell that story in the book about a woman who had a housekeeper or helper or something, and she was always sad and always depressed. And then the woman who hired her, her employer, said to her, you know what? You don't realize the many treasures you have within you.
Exactly.
And it changed her entire life. So I put that in the card, and then I asked the question, how will you impact the world on the other side of this global pandemic? And then I had a You Matter card. So this You Matter card went into every single thank you note that I had, and I asked the people that I sent it to that if they wanted to, they could use that You Matter card and give a shout out to the world on social media to let other people know that you're thinking of them because I'm thinking of you.
Yeah.
That all was wrapped around what I read, from Dale. I mean, I just tried to immerse myself in those principles from Dale Carnegie, and I know I got some great feedback on it. People calling me actually just called to say thank you and then put up some messages on social media. Because everyone does matter, and that's the most important thing. We can't ever forget that is the key concept in all of this, is that everybody matters, and that's the principle that Dale preaches.
Yeah. And I would also say, if I had to give one tip to those who are listening, and by the way, my condolences out to those who have lost loved ones through this COVID-19, and to all of those who have family members and who may be listening who are frontline warriors in hospitals. God bless you, because it's one of those things that's hard to persevere through this time. But if there was just one thing, one piece of advice I could give, is change one thing at a time. Pick one principle, pick one thing to choose to do differently, and do it until you master it. And it takes a lot longer than just 7 days or 21 days to change a habit. You actually have to do it over and over and over again, even to 6 months. And when you start to do just one thing different, even counting your blessings, you're going to watch many things change and happen in your life. So make a difference, choose to make a difference, but do it one step at a time.
There's no such thing as an overnight sensation, right? It's little things done consistently over time. It's the whole point of the track that I have, doing little things, consistently tracking them. So what other information do you want to share from Dale that could help us during all of this?
There's one principle that I happen to love in addition to principle number 117, and that's number 6. And that is, remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. And know that a lot of the people that you're going to be talking to, in different capacities over the phone, they take a lot of edge and a lot of frustration from other people. And I can honestly say, when you use a person's name, it makes them feel important. We like to hear our own names because it makes us feel important, and it aligns perfectly with Dale Carnegie's suggestion, like, the number one need of all people is a need to feel important. Well, our name makes us feel important. So to all those out there who struggle remembering a person's name, do what you can, from writing it down to asking how to spell it, to do anything, but really take the time to know and use that person's name. And in an instant, you would have given that person a great gift.
And to pronounce it correctly, and to make sure
Yeah.
you don't just give someone a nickname, right?
To care, right,
Right.
to get it right. Because some of these names aren't easy to say, but it just makes a tremendous difference. In fact, people have said to me, "Does that really work, Diane?" And I'm like, "Really?" But us, Mark and I, telling you about this book or explaining these principles really doesn't mean anything until you try it on. And then when you try it on and you see that it really works for you, that's the momentum, that's the enthusiasm that you need to make the difference and the change in your life.
It's taking action. Principles are great.
Exactly.
I mean,
that's exactly right.
knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power.
That's exactly right, Mark.
You make the choice.
Right on.
You make the choice to make a difference. You take action, and like you talked about, Dan, even in the smallest step, change one thing at a time. You don't.
Yes.
You don't. No one can change 10 things at once. You'll be overwhelmed, and then you'll just go back to what you weren't doing before because you get so frustrated and anxious and stressed out about it. If you just change one thing, one little thing, like I said, is let's say you're going to go out for the next week, and every time you are helped by someone, you're going to say their name. Right?
Exactly.
You're going to make them feel better and feel important.
You'll be amazed at what you get back.
Yeah, it's true. Anything else you wanted to share?
I would just say, Dale Carnegie believed that the little secret of success is enthusiasm. And if we choose to put enthusiasm into even the smallest thing that we do, we can take a mundane task and make it at least better than mundane. And if we did more than that, we could turn our life into something that is really wonderful and make others' lives well. So enthusiasm, that little secret of success, use it during this time of the crisis and the pandemic, and you'll make other people's days as well as yours.
Because they'll reflect off of that, and you attract other people who are also enthusiastic, but they'll mirror your personality and your attitude and your enthusiasm. Other people will mirror that. It's just natural. Like I'm in sales, right? If I get on the phone and I say, "Oh, would you like to do this or that?" The person feels that, and they respond exactly the way I asked the question. But if I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? And I know things are tough right now, but it's so good to talk. You're safe and well. Great." Then they're going to feel, first of all, important, and secondly, they will mirror my attitude on that phone call.
You bet.
True.
You bet.
So can people get involved in Dale Carnegie training right now?
They actually can, Mark.
Get the slide.
They can reach out to me directly, or they can go to midatlantic.dalecarnegie.com, and we have free resources. They also can download Dale Carnegie's Golden Book, which is 30 of Dale Carnegie's principles, short version, and 30 How to Stop Worrying and Start Living principles, short version as well. And if they wanted to send a message to me to get information as well, we have a lot of free things that are offered right now to help people during the pandemic. We also have videos that you can do on-demand videos as far as managing stress, and I'd be happy to share those links with you. And they can reach me at diane.beliveau@dalecarnegie.com.
And it's Beliveau. See, no one knows this, but we were first talking before. I said, "Diane, how do you pronounce your last name?" And I said it wrong, and you corrected me, and that's perfect because I need to say your name correctly, right? Because you deserve to have that respect. That's what Dale teaches.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah.
Awesome. Really appreciate you joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I might be your next student because I think I might get involved in this. And anyone who wants to, I think it's real important because Dale Carnegie's principles are really incredible. There are certain people that come around once in a lifetime. I think Napoleon Hill was one. Dale Carnegie was one. If you read Wallace Wattles' book, the Science of Success, Science of Getting Rich, just again, the principles transcend time and space, and they're part of our human makeup and our human nature. And you have to focus on them if you want to have a better life. It can't be just about the material things. It can't be about just what the outside world, what can I get? What can I get when I get? What can I get? It's what can I give? What can I give? What can I give? And we all have so much more to give than we even possibly realize. We're probably using 10% of what's possible in our gifts in life. And if we just actually work toward that and focus on it, slowly it comes out, right, over time. And again, it's not that overnight sensation, just one little drip of goodness and kindness. I think it's Dale who talks about in the book. He says, those who are kind tread softly, something like that. It's a great mantra to live your life by.
You bet.
Kindness always wins.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Mark. I enjoyed being part of your program tonight, and God bless all of you, and thanks so much.
You were awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, good night.
So we're going to get back here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And again, if you want to be part of the Dale Carnegie training, you can send a message on Facebook or to Diane, and we'll make sure that you get the right information so you can be part of that program. I think it's just incredible. I mean, that book really has touched my life. I highly recommend it, even if all you did was listen to it. I'm having, again, I've listened to it on Audible a couple of times. I don't know who reads the book, but his voice, it just makes it even more dramatic. And just the things I've learned from that and the way I want to live my life because of it, it's just real important. So a few final thoughts, and it says it right up there on the TV screen, which is give grace. You know, this is change your mind, change your life. And we can all make changes in our life, but we all have to be flexible, be kind, give grace to one another, especially during all of this. I know right now there are protests going on because people want to get back to work and they've lost so much. You know, they're not getting a paycheck. They're waiting for money to come in, and it's a struggle. You know, on the other side of the healthcare workers, because they know exactly what we're all going through, and we don't want to go through it again. We need to be safe. I'm not here to do politics or, you know, I don't care if you agree with my viewpoint or don't, because, you know, one of the most liberating things you can do in life is not care about what other people think. I'm just sharing a few thoughts, but I mean, grace and kindness during all of this goes a long way. Just like Diana and I talked about. I mean, you be kind, you tread softly, you'll go far. So I appreciate you being here as part of this special Change Your Mind, Change Your Life meetup progress through the pandemic. I hope it helps. Anything you want from me, reach out. I can get that tracker to you. It does become important if you can actually focus on things that matter. Your life will change. Change the way you think, and the things you think about will change. Thank you all. Thanks for everything that everyone on the front lines is doing. God bless those who have lost loved ones. I can't imagine what it's like to go through that. But we're all thinking about you. We're all going to get through this, and we're all eventually going to be in a better place because of it. Thanks. Love you. My mission in life is to positively impact the lives of 1 billion people. So welcome to the billion.